Hi, my name is Tim Hoyt. I am the SVP of Global Partners Alliances here at Sumo Logic, and I'm super thrilled to introduce Chris Grusz. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the discussion today.
Absolutely. So, Chris, we're excited to have you to talk to our customers at our annual Illuminate conference. Our users come from all corners of the globe and represent a range of businesses, both private and public sector. But above all, they're trying to navigate a complex world as their companies undergo digital transformations and make important decisions about their cloud investments. This conference is really about the vital role that observability and security play for these companies. Really interested and curious about some of your perspectives, and would love to launch into a couple of questions if that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's a really relevant topic for our joint customers, customers that are building on top of AWS. The topics you just went through are super relevant. So yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to the conversation here.
Excellent. Chris, maybe first of all, what your responsibilities at AWS?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm the general manager for AWS's Isv Alliance organization, and that is inclusive of AWS Marketplace. And so my team is responsible for working with all the software companies that are partnering with AWS and taking advantage of a variety of our programs, co-sell initiatives. And as I mentioned, inclusive of Marketplace, so all the Marketplace engineering, product management, and business development teams also roll up through me. So both teams really focus on working with our ISV community and trying to figure out the best ways that we can partner and operate at scale with our AWS customers.
Excellent. Well, that's a pretty big remit. We're proud to work with you, and again, thanks for the time. So, look, it goes without saying that these are tumultuous times. And that means many organizations are reevaluating budgets and strategy and their plans. And we know that with change and uncertainty also comes opportunity. I'm curious if you have any insights you'd be willing to share with our audience of how you've seen companies successfully navigate difficult times along with evaluating their technology investments.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things you just mentioned are the key reasons why people are moving to AWS. Right? When you take a look at why customers are using AWS, they're looking first and foremost, they want to get more agile, right? In today's economy, you have to be able to move fast. You have to try out things very quickly and then also be able to spin things up or down as needed. And so having that agility is very important. And so we're seeing more and more customers look for providers that can bring agility to the table. At the same time, they still want to save money. And so, whatever they're doing, how do you actually provide a cost savings? And when you go to the cloud, that is a big value proposition, right? We're getting great economies of scale, obviously, and we can now pass those on to our customers. And so, providing a cost saving storyline is also really important. And then, of course, for a lot of our customers, their businesses are, they're not steady state, right? They're up and down. If you take a look at a retailer, they have a very busy season around the holiday season, and they might need a lot of compute. And so they need elasticity in terms of what they're doing from an infrastructure perspective. And then they want to spin that down after that holiday season. So having a cloud provider that can provide that elasticity is very important. And then just having the ability to try out things fast and be able to go very quickly and expand not only just domestically, but also expand internationally. And having the ability to take your workloads and putting them across the globe at a push of a button is really important, right? And so that's why we're seeing people move to the cloud. Those are the new norms that our customers are facing. And, when you put those all together, what it means is a lot of our customers just don't want to manage their data centers anymore. Yeah. They don't want to deal with weather or human error that goes into the equation. They just want to have that provided as a service. And so that's what's driving people to the cloud. And what we find is when they make a decision to move their computing platform, it opens up the opportunity to evaluate all the software that they have in place. And as we see customers migrate to AWS, what we find is about 50% of the software that they use stays intact. It's software that they have skill sets around and they want to continue to use that. But 30% of that software is actually reevaluated. It's functionality that they need, but at the same time, they take a look back and say, you know what, maybe this is a chance to up level what we have. Right? We might have been using some kind of other monitoring product in the past, and we want to get much more of an observability platform moving forward. And so it's an awesome opportunity, especially for an organization like Sumo Logic, where you're bringing in technology that is custom built for AWS. It provides a really strong value proposition. The other thing I see customers looking for is, up-leveling their security posture, right? You take a look at a lot of the stuff that we've both been doing for a while, and security always kind of lacked the visibility, and there wasn't very good automation that security ISVs brought to the table. And as you fast forward to today, it's no longer about having a dilemma between moving fast and staying secure. Our customers want to do both. And they want to do that at scale. And so, they turn to our partners that are complementary to AWS, that support our shared security model. And that's where they start to turn to solutions like Sumo Logic. You've done all the well-architected programs. You're part of our security competency program. You're available in Marketplace. And we're seeing customers turn to Marketplace to go find those technologies. And so those are the things that we start to see as customers are migrating to the cloud. Some of the things that really help satisfy their needs from a third-party ISV perspective alongside AWS.
Yeah, there's a lot in there you hit for sure, and I think we definitely see that in our business. We see customers needing scale on demand, having to drive efficiency, both in the human capital and how people operate, as well as the budgets. I mean, Forrester did a total economic impact report with Sumo customers. And on average, we realized 171% ROI and less than 6-month payback. And a huge part of that comes because of the innovation we have to build on top of AWS, the ability that customers have to scale on demand, whether that is domestically, internationally, all at the same time. So it's really germane to what you had mentioned there.
Oh yeah.
I want to unpack something you mentioned as well, Chris, which is a bit around the modernization of security and observability. How do you see those two elements, security and observability, playing a role in the digital transformation at customers?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So in my prior role at AWS, one of the services I ran business development for was a suite of products called our control services. And one of the solutions in control services is a service called Control Tower. And in Control Tower is a service that we launched for customers to migrate to AWS at scale. What Control Tower does is it actually builds a landing zone for our customers, which is what they hand off to their teams as they migrate. And kind of think of it as almost like a factory approach, of stamping out these landing zones for our customers. And it's really become the default tool for how customers are migrating to AWS. And it's really interesting to take a look back at the Control Tower experience, because we saw very common patterns on the technologies that our customers implemented right off the bat. There's a variety of services that we provide, but there's certain things that our customers would always have from the very beginning. So you take a look at things like establishing their networking layer and how they would establish a transit VPC and make sure that they had a hybrid networking environment so they could actually move those workloads from on-prem up into AWS. That was always kind of mission one. We'd see them establish their identity posture. So they'd have, their identity posture, and they want to make sure that those credentials that they were using for their old world work more with the AWS side as well. And so having a nice identity strategy there. Now, the other two pieces of technology that also went in were security and observability, right? People would establish that security layer up front. They would get their endpoints secured, and they would start to take a look at everything that was going on within their environment. And it's really critical because, not only just because of the security aspects, but when you have an observability tool that overlays that security tech, it provides you with a glimpse of what is going on when things suddenly stop working. And as you move to the cloud, there's going to be a bunch of things that happen. And, it is critical to have an observability product there from day one, because when you do move and you need to figure out something, you need to have the ability to take a look at your environment across the board, figure out what's working, where things might be stuck, so that you can get to remediation very quickly. And so, when I take a look at security and observability, those are one of the initial technologies that we see all of our customers implement as soon as they go to AWS, because they need to understand what's going on very quickly during that migration so they don't get stalled and they can fix things and move forward.
Yeah, you certainly have a great perspective and history on the innovation arc of AWS. And we absolutely see that with you and with customers and with our partners alike, which is, how can customers take this complexity and turn it into insights? And this is where Sumo really strives to bring value around ensuring that application reliability, right? So as it migrates or is created and built inside of AWS, that there's reliability in there, and that there's a secure and protected platform against these modern threats. And finally is the insights, right? So how do you gain insights in this cloud infrastructure, and integrations like we have with Control Tower are really essential to that. Mm-hmm. In addition, Chris, to the technological side, which we know is super important, it's also about culture. And so as we think about what's happening in today and the shifts that customers are making to a DevOps world, and that extends to the DevSecOps culture, where reliability and performance and security, some things you just mentioned, are all top of mind. What do you think teams need to be doing and thinking and building and advocating that drives that shared culture and that change?
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's not the technology. That's not the difficult part of moving to the cloud. It is the cultural aspects, and we provide all kinds of tech to make that happen. But if you don't have your organization lined up, that your people are ready to go, and you're culturally ready for this change, you're going to struggle. And so we've seen that for, a variety of customers, right? It is so critical to have that cultural aspect in place first before you start to migrate. And so when you take a look at that and kind of peel that back a bit, what does that mean? The first thing that's very important is that you need to have your senior leadership on board and supporting this migration. If you start to try to migrate to the cloud and just have a department doing it, but your senior leadership is really not on board, you're probably not going to get very far, right? And so we always advocate that you have your C-level leadership on board, ready to go. And it's not just your CIO's office, it's your CEO, it's your CFO, it's your COO as well. You have to have that senior leadership in the boat, ready to go, and they must be very well aligned to the decision to go to the cloud. The next thing that we typically see is that once you've got your senior leadership on board, it's important to set aggressive top-down goals. We've seen a lot of our, enterprise customers, they'll make a mandate like, we're going to shut down half our data centers and move to AWS in the next 6 months. And, while that might seem very daunting, setting those types of goals for the organization are important. It really drives the agenda, it drives the priority level, and it really sets the organization in motion. And so for all of our customers that have been very successful moving to AWS, that is another common theme. They've got that executive alignment, and the executive teams have really set a stake in the ground and said, this is where we're going, and let's have the whole organization really snap to this model and go after it. And so that's a critical step. Now, once you've done that, at the same time, you can't forget about training your organization. And so you've got to train, you've got to get people certified. They have to be ready to use AWS. You can't just set the direction, but then have your teams that are going to be doing the execution of that not be fluent in AWS. And so, spend the time and effort to go through our certification programs or education programs. Get your team well-versed on AWS. Set up a center of excellence, set up a center of competency, whatever you might want to call it. Have that core group of people within your organization that are really skilled on how to use AWS, so that as you migrate and you have questions, you've got those subject matter experts on staff ready to go to assist you. And then once you've got that in place, the other common element that we see that's very kind of a trend across all of our customers is they've done an effective portfolio analysis. And what I mean by that is they've taken a look at their landscape of technology that they're running today, and they will decide on what are the pieces that are easy to move, what are the pieces that are a little bit more difficult to move, and what are the harder pieces to move. And once they've done that analysis, then they know that if they move application A, that one's going to be fine operating in isolation. But maybe if you move application B, well, you need to have applications C and D with you as well. So you got to make sure you move them all together, or have some kind of hybrid storage so that you don't lose any kind of quality of service for your users, either externally or internally, when you move those applications. Right. Candidly, that's a great place for observability as well. That's again where we'll see our customers use observability tools like Sumo Logic, is that they can use that to actually take a look at those dependencies, see how things are tied together, and then that will help them with that migration effort. And so, observability is a key component of doing that portfolio analysis, which is, a key step as you move to the cloud.
Yeah, I think that flying in formation element with the the applications, with the user adoption, with the strategy piece, all those flying in formation really makes this work. I think there's another element that's really interesting, and AWS certainly has pioneered that, maybe learning from Amazon, but as marketplace. And so I'm sure our customers that are here really are interested to understand more about what's going on with technology, procurement decisions, and how marketplace has been shaping and supporting the modernization of that process. And then what's to look ahead.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I've been with AWS for 7 years, all of which within Marketplace. So I joined it when it was a much smaller organization and have had the opportunity to really see it grow and get a lot of good customer adoption. But similar to how people move to AWS, what they're looking for is to transform their business and how they can now provide things on demand. And what we found is that while we would provide this great on-demand environment for all of your compute and all of your other core services, procurement teams were, the systems that they were using were outdated and they were cumbersome. And so that's where Marketplace started to come into the mix, is how do we actually help up level and bring your procurement teams, your procurement systems up to speed with the cloud era. And, it's just a great way to bring in third-party products as well. Right, you kind of referenced our retail brethren, and one of the reasons why our retail marketplace does so well is what we refer to as the concept of selection. Right, it's one of the reasons why people buy from Amazon is it's the everything storage. You can get everything that you want through Amazon.com, and that concept of selection comes across to AWS customers in the form of AWS Marketplace. The Marketplace charter is to bring in all those third-party products and have them ready to go, so that when customers want to use third-party software, they can use that alongside their AWS services, and they have a very easy way to do that. And what we found is that marketplaces are really starting to drive some pretty strong efficiencies across our customers. First and foremost, the software that is available in Marketplace is all available under a pay-as-you-go format. And, and that's very powerful. A lot of times the software that you might have that you've been running in your data centers might be under a perpetual model. And you don't want to have an incongruent model where you're using pay-as-you-go infrastructure from AWS, but then you have a perpetual software license on the other side. And so by virtue of having Marketplace and helping us drive that pay-as-you-go model to all of our ISVs, it's a great way to get efficiencies in terms of how you're using that software. Our customers love the fact that you consolidate all the invoicing when you go through Marketplace. You're putting all of your third-party spend on that AWS bill. And when that happens, there's a lot of benefit that happens. First of all, it's going to flow into all of our cost management suites of services. And so if you want to look at your third-party spend alongside your AWS services spend, you can do that now through AWS. And so there's all this great benefit by just having all of your software go on one consolidated invoice. And then there's a bunch of other benefits that come with Marketplace that help streamline that procurement process. One of the things that we've done is implement standard legal terms. And so, if you take a look at AWS Marketplace, over half the software companies in AWS Marketplace today are under one single set of legal terms. And so the legal teams of our customers love that, because once they've looked at those standard legal terms for one ISV within Marketplace, they've effectively looked at it for over 1,000. And so, that's a great benefit, because now the legal teams can say, I've already looked at that agreement once. You can now have the green light for all these other ISVs. Right. And that's a big value too. And then there's other increased values in terms of vendor onboarding and, of course, the discounts that are tied to your agreements with AWS. And so what we find is that, when you look at the value statement, there's some strong value there as well, right? We just did a study with Forrester, and what they've estimated is that our customers are seeing about 550% return on equity and investment when they use Marketplace. And their payback period for using Marketplace is under 6 months. And so they're getting very quick value out of using Marketplace that's helping them move at cloud speed and provide third-party software at scale, but still have that governance that they need. And so, those are the key things that we're seeing from a Marketplace perspective, right? And we're seeing that trend now extrapolate past infrastructure-based software. We're seeing line of business software being purchased out of our Marketplace, vertical solutions, data solutions, and we're going to continue to add more and more selection to the mix. And then, of course, we want to integrate into our customers' back office systems as well. So if they have other systems of record that they want to integrate all their third-party spend into, they're going to be able to do that through Marketplace. And then, of course, continuing to streamline other aspects of that software procurement experience, things like InfoSec reviews. There's a bunch of things that we have on our list of things to do that we're excited about. We think Marketplace can be a huge value add for our joint customers.
Yeah, no doubt that choice and selection and the efficiency side is something that we've seen our customers really enjoy working with Sumo on the Marketplace platform. We've seen a number of our route to market partners, so consulting partner, channel partners, also embrace that as they're driving for that efficiency on behalf of their customer as well, and trying to simplify some of the not so fun part of the procurement process and make it more strategic so we can get to that faster time to value. So, Chris, I'll close with this last question. We've had 10 birthday candles in the decade of our partnership. So far, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of great customer success, a lot of great partnering together. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the partnership up until now, and for our customer audience, what excites you about what's around on the horizon?
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. I look at Sumo Logic. You guys check all the boxes, right? I mean, it's no surprise that we awarded you the Partner of the Year last year at our reInvent conference, because you have done, not only the things to make sure that your software runs on top of AWS, but it's running as efficiently as possible. And then you've done the right things to align your organization, your programs to what we're doing from an AWS perspective, right? And so you take a look at just something as simple as your participation in our security competency program, right? That's really important, and our customers really value that because it shows that you've made those investments to add those additional features and functions into your product that really help you embrace the shared security model that AWS offers up to our customers. We mentioned the Marketplace listing. That's another huge value add, right? We're seeing, as I mentioned, more and more of our customers are just defaulting to buying out of Marketplace. It has become the way that we're automating how we co-sell with our top partners like Sumo Logic. And so having your top of the line flagship product in Marketplace ready to go to purchase for our AWS customers is very important. And then you've done a lot of the due diligence as well to continually integrate to all of our up and coming features. And so when Marketplace has launched various features over the years, Sumo Logic has always been at the front of the line, ready to go to integrate that and be on stage with us, standing there saying, we're validating this feature because we think it's a great solution for our joint customers. And then as we work with our joint customers, one of the biggest programs that we've put in place from an AWS perspective is Isv Accelerate. This is our primary program on how we want to work with ISVs like Sumo Logic in the field. And how do we make sure that we're not bumping into each other? And then when we work with our joint customers, how do we present a common face forward? And so Sumo Logic's been, a partner in Isv Accelerate since we launched that program. You've taken advantage of all the aspects of that, which includes educating our teams as well. So they're familiar and fluent in Sumo Logic, so that when we show up working with our joint customers, it's a really good experience. And so your participation in that program has been, something that we've really looked at as another value add. So, as I mentioned, Sumo has been a great partner for us. You check all the boxes, you continue to do so. And, as our customers are migrating faster and faster to the cloud, they're going to continue to need both security and observability solutions. So I see this partnership as a very long-term partnership that we're going to continue to work on here with our joint customers.
That's great. It's always day one, right? And we know that as customers are not just migrating, but are now like the operationalization of how they work in cloud, observability is huge. We all understand that the security posture is more and more important. The bad people are not sleeping too often, and I think the partnership that we have here, working backwards from the customer, really has that best intent in mind of how do we help them focus on what their core business is, right? By helping them observe and drive reliability and innovation and security together with Sumo Logic on AWS in combination with the native AWS services and other complementary ISVs. So, Chris, I really want to thank you for taking time to spend at Sumo Logic Illuminate, share some of your perspectives and outlook with our audience, and here's to a great, bright future.
Yep. Well, I couldn't agree more. So looking forward to continuing to work together. And, like I said, it's a great solution for our joint customers. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Be well.